All right, let's talk about something pretty much all of us have felt, anxiety. But we're not going to just look at it as some kind of disorder. No, we're going to dig into what it really is, a fundamental, ancient part of being human, something that's literally hardwired into our biology. So let's get right into it.
You know that feeling, right? You're about to give a big presentation or maybe have a difficult conversation, and bam, your legs just turn to jelly. It's that sudden shaky weakness where you're half convinced they're just going to give out. Yeah, that feeling. It's way more common than you think.
Here's the thing you've got to understand. That is not just all in your head. Not at all. It's a real, physical thing happening inside your body. It's basically an echo of this ancient survival wiring that's kept humans safe for, well, thousands and thousands of years. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's going on under the hood.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about your body's alarm system. This is all about that instant physical reaction. What happens in those first few seconds when your brain thinks, uh-oh, danger.
So it all kicks off with what we call the stress response. But you probably know it as fight or flight. And it happens in a flash, really. Just 3 quick steps. Step 1, your brain spots a threat. And, it doesn't care if it's a grizzly bear or just a really stressful email. Step 2, your body gets flooded with stress hormones, like adrenaline. And finally, step 3, those hormones basically supercharge your system, getting you ready to act and act fast.
So how does that supercharge translate to jelly legs? Well, this is where it gets really cool. Your body is actually being super efficient. It reroutes blood flow away from some areas and straight to your biggest muscles. Think your thighs, your biceps, so you can fight or run with everything you've got. At the exact same moment, all your muscles get super tense, ready to spring into action. Throw in a spike of blood sugar for a quick energy boost and a nervous system that's on red alert, and yeah, that's what creates that weird, wobbly feeling. So get this, your legs aren't actually getting weaker, they're just getting so many go signals at once that they feel shaky.
All right, so this brings us to a really important point. That immediate, oh no, fight or flight feeling, that's actually fear. Anxiety is a little bit different, and, figuring out that difference is totally key to understanding this whole thing.
Let's put it this way. Fear is the alarm blaring because you see actual smoke in your kitchen right now. It's happening in the present moment. Anxiety? That's you, 3 hours later, constantly checking the smoke detector batteries, just worrying, what if there's another fire? What if it happens when I'm asleep? See the difference? It's all about worrying about a future threat, something that hasn't even happened.
Look, this whole system is absolutely essential. We need it to survive. But it can become a real problem when that alarm system gets a little, well, too sensitive. That's when we start talking about pathological anxiety. It's like having a car alarm that goes off if a leaf falls on the windshield. Your brain starts overestimating threats, treating everyday worries like they're life or death emergencies, and hitting that fight or flight button way, way too often.
So what actually happens to your body when that alarm is just always on? Does all that stress leave a mark? Well, scientists have been digging into that very question, and it turns out the answer is a big yes. Chronic anxiety leaves a clear, totally measurable, physical fingerprint.
And here's some of the proof. This quote is from a really important study that basically found a direct link between how anxious a person tends to be in general, what they call trait anxiety, and 2 very real physical measurements. And this was in perfectly healthy people. What they're saying here is that they were the first to really nail down this specific connection.
Okay, don't let the table scare you. It's actually super simple. The researchers measured 2 main things: mean arterial pressure, which is basically your average blood pressure, and something called MSNA, which is a fancy way of saying they measured the fight or flight signals in your nerves. And look at the results. They found a positive correlation for both. All that means is, the higher a person's general anxiety level, the higher their resting blood pressure and nerve activity were. And that p-value on the end? That just tells us how sure the scientists are. Since those numbers are super, super small, it means this isn't just a coincidence. The link is real and it's strong.
So let's just boil it all down to the bottom line. This isn't just about feeling stressed. A person's tendency to be anxious is directly tied to real, measurable physical stress on their heart and their whole cardiovascular system, even when they're just sitting on the couch doing nothing. It's the ultimate proof of that mind-body connection, and now we have the data to back it up. All right, so we've looked at the feeling, we've looked at the science. Now let's zoom out a bit. Because when this state of anxiety becomes constant, when it starts getting in the way of your life, that's when it crosses over into what we call a disorder, and you might be surprised just how common that is. Check out this number, roughly 30%. What does that mean? It means that research suggests almost 1 out of every 3 people will deal with an anxiety disorder at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 3. That's a lot.
And anxiety isn't just one single thing either. This chart gives you a quick snapshot of how common a few different types are in any given year. You can see that specific phobias, fear of spiders, fear of heights, that kind of thing, are actually the most common. We're talking over 12% of people. Then you've got social anxiety disorder, agoraphobia, the list goes on.
And really, that's just scratching the surface. The whole experience of anxiety is this huge spectrum. You have things like generalized anxiety disorder, which is just that constant nagging worry. You have panic disorder with those terrifying sudden rushes of fear. Social anxiety, phobias. They're all part of the same family, but each one shows up in its own unique way. But here's the most important thing I want you to take away. The absolute good news in all of this. We understand these conditions really, really well. And there are incredibly effective treatments out there. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps you retrain your thought patterns. And also medications. Both can help get that overactive alarm system back in check and find some balance again.
So let's leave it with this final thought. We've seen that anxiety is basically your body's ancient alarm system. Yeah, it can feel totally overwhelming, and sometimes you absolutely need a professional to help you recalibrate it. But maybe the goal isn't to just turn the alarm off for good. Maybe the real challenge and the real opportunity is to learn how to listen to it, to understand its signals, and figure out what it's really trying to tell you.